Okay, we are going live now. So we have already started the live. So ask questions. I told you that when the things are going live, so be immediate, quick in asking the things. Once we click live, and then now it is already going live, and then again I have to make the same comments when the things are going live. That's why we give that buffer time in between that you can ask a question. Be quick in asking the questions. Don't wait for the things there. Okay? We are going live for the second season of our presentations. This is the semester 2 students, and their second season of presentation is starting from today. Today in this morning slot, we are a little bit late today to start the things, but this was the first day. And as we are trying a StreamYard for the live streaming, we have to learn a couple of things regarding live streaming and sharing the features and other things on StreamYard. So in this particular slot, we will have presentations by these students. I am sharing a screen to see the list of the students who are going to make presentations in this slot. We have Aamena, who is going to make a presentation on a feminist reading of Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Bhavna Sosa will make presentation on symbolism in The Great Gatsby. Dhruvita on The Great Gatsby. Daisy's character study will be done. Dhvani will read on the feminist perspective in Woolf's novels. Divya Parmar will read Nick Carraway as Unreliable Narrator. Divya Sheta will read presentation on W.B.Yeats as a Symbolist poet. Emisha will make a presentation on gender and society, gender dysphoria in Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Himanshi's presentation will be on concept of zombie in literature with reference to selected novels. Hinaba Sarvaiya will make presentation on comparative study. It should be make a change in the topic that you have typed, comparative study of gender identity in Orlando and the well of loneliness. Hirva will make presentation. That will be the last in this slot. Reading of second coming, I think it must be Hirva. So now in the live stream, we don't want to highlight the mistakes you make, but you are still not learning the things which we are expecting from you to learn. Learn it and avoid making such mistakes, so that in the live stream we don't have to pinpoint such simple mistakes. Reading of second coming with the context of pandemic and war will be the presentation by her. You all have submitted your presentations in Google Classroom, and through Google Classroom you are going to make your presentations here, and the teacher will evaluate your work on the given rubric. So we have a 7 criteria of rubric over which the students' presentations will be evaluated. Subject content, organization of your ideas, your verbal skills, your elocution, mechanics of writing, your eye contact, body language, your enthusiasm, and research-based citations and the originality of the thoughts that you are putting here, and along with how you are making the citations of your resources. On these parameters, we are going to evaluate your work. You have to do a peer evaluation and self-evaluation also at the end of the presentation. That should not be forgotten by all the students. Okay, so we are now ready to start with the first presentation. A reminder to everybody, 2 students who are coming previously in the roll number will ask questions to the presenter, and you also have to type your question in the comment section. So later on we can read your question or anybody who is watching the live stream, they also can read the questions. Asking questions uh, is open for everybody. Two students have to ask, but if anybody else wants to ask a question, those who are present in the class right now, you can ask a question here also, or you can ask a question in comment section also. Those who are watching it live, anybody who is watching it live can also ask a question, and if that question is asked to you, then you have to reply in the comment section. Don't forget to reply in the comment section if the question is asked to you. Okay, so wish you all the best this morning slot, and we start our presentation with the first presenter. So Aamena, you can start with your presentation. Okay? You have to, okay, just a minute. Unmute there and then start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Aamena Rangwala, and today my topic is on Virginia Woolf as a feminist writer. So, I'm going to deal with her biography and some few lines from the novel that relates to the feminist writing of her. Orlando, a feminist reading of Virginia Woolf. Orlando, a biography. These are my personal details. Table of content. Brief intro of Virginia Woolf. Feminist approach of work of Virginia Woolf, and conclusion. Brief intro of Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is an English writer and considered the one of the most modernist 20th century author, and she is well known especially for The Lighthouse and Women's Writing and Politics of Power. So now I will deal with a feminist approach of Virginia Woolf in Orlando. Orlando is a story of fantasy. It's divided into four parts. The beginning part is of the nobleman, and later on, he sleeps for 1 week, and then in the second part, her identity is changed from man to female. In this, I would also like to connect uh, the man into woman by Einar Wegner. She was the first man who was transferred from man to woman. Uh, she was then a Danish artist, and later on, he was called Lily. He changed his name from Einar to Lily, from male to female. He was the first transgender. The second part of novel is because adaptation of sexual identity is the key element of feminist work. Orlando feels comfortable as well as in men also and in woman also. Virginia Woolf's main motive is that male and female should be treated equally. There won't be any difference between male and female. So these are the passage from the novel. Orlando has become a woman. There is no denying of it. But in every other respect, Orlando remains precisely as he had been. The change of sex thought is altered. Their future did not nothing whatever to alter identity. In this in these lines, it is talked about the sex change. He sleeps of 1 week, and then he wakes up, and then he sees that he's changed into a female. But for him, there was no change in his identity. He was same as male also and in female. But in society, the society changes the view of male and female humans. humans are by birth they are humans, but further after coming in society they are being differentiated by males and females and by clothes and their dresses. In this, I would like to also connect the movie Badhai Do. In that, it is talked about the lesbian and gay couple. Both the couples are compromising and living, and they also are having a relationship between. Hero is having a relations between a boy, and heroine also is having a relation between a female. So both are living. Four of them are living together, and at last. In the movie the family and the society is also accepting them. So the conclusion is the feminist vision of author is reflected on the sexual identity of protagonist. He feels confused sometimes by her or his sexual identity, but the end Orlando ends up with a comfortable being or man or a woman. The equality of gender defended by author is reflected in this novel, The Orlando. These are my resources, and thank you.
Amina, hello. I asked the questions. Orlando feels comfortable being a man and being a woman.
In the starting, he was not aware about his identity, but later on, after coming out, he was a bit confused about his identity.
Yes, Aamena. My question is, what is your views regarding this Orlando?
My views are society should accept uh, the couples like this lesbian and the gay couples. They should accept, and now they are accepting, and there are web series and movies, so the society can get aware about this.
Yeah. Okay. So the next presenter now. Yeah. So the next yeah presentation is by Bhavna on symbolism in the Great Gatsby. Let me just give a reminder by the time she is sharing the screen. Hirva, you have to put a question in the comment. YouTube comment you have put. Have you? Okay. Yes. Are you ready? If you are seeing, share this tab instead. Are you seeing anything at the top? No, it has stopped sharing now. Also, work on your question. Don't just be don't just ask question for the sake of asking, but give a proper shape to the question. See if the question structure is wrong, then also try to learn Hinaba, Hirva, both of you, and others also from them. So that is how you learn the language skills also, and how to ask a proper question, what is in interrogative sentence, and how it is asked. That also you are learning as a byproduct. Okay? So don't miss this opportunity to learn the language aspect, which we are in badly need of learning. Okay? We are seeing classroom that you are sharing. Now you have to open. Yes, now we are seeing. Yes, yeah, okay, yes, it is working now. Unmute your mic. Okay, I'm unmuting from here. You can start then. No, it is not. Okay, yes, now you can start.
Full screen visible? Yes. Okay. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. My presentation topic is symbolism in the Great Gatsby. Next slide is changed. Is not working.
Okay, keep on learning from the mistakes, so that every time you don't expect somebody to help you. Now you will be the leaders from the next semester, and you have to help others. So start learning that you should know everything, then only you will be able to help new students. Okay? Do the practice, whatever is required for that.
So this is my information.
PDF, sir. It is not PPT form.
There you see the button now.
Sir, I am opening with Google Slides. Now, is it visible? No.
And then F. Scott Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald was a short story writer and novelist. He was
Louder, speak loud.
uh,
There are 100 people in the class.
he was born in September 24 in 1896 in Paul, Minnesota. His namesake was Francis Scott Key, who wrote the lyric to the Star Spangled Banner. The Great Gatsby is considered Fitzgerald's finest work. Published in 1925, Gatsby is narrated by Nick Carraway. Is a Midwesterner who moves into the town of West Egg on Long Island. Then, how does Gatsby in this novel reflected Fitzgerald? Fitzgerald depicts destructive love in this novel, particularly in the J. J. Gatsby mirrors Scott Fitzgerald's because both Gatsby and Fitzgerald were able to money after having difficult time. Both were soldiers in army. Zelda, she was Fitzgerald's wife, and Daisy resembles each other in what they did. Both men did their best to win the ladies they loved by impressing them of their wealth and success. A slight difference between them is that Fitzgerald marries Zelda, but Gatsby does not marry Daisy. And symbolism. First is the green light. The green light in the novel symbolizes the hope and optimism for Gatsby to have a Daisy and reunite with her. He looks at the light. He feels confident and hopeful that his dream will be fulfilled. In the first chapter, Gatsby described this light and says, involuntarily, I glance. Dividend distinguished nothing except a single green light, a minute and far away. That might have been that might have been the end of door. The green light is noticed again the in the last chapter of the novel, but here it indicates the disillusionment of the American dream. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that years by recedes before us. It eluded us then. Gatsby, at the beginning of the novel, has hopes and wills to be wealthy and successful, but at the end, he fails to achieve and his hope and desires. It also seems that the green light at the beginning of the novel foreshadows the tragic end in the last chapter. Holy of ashes. The ashes are made by industry that helps other to reach. This is shows the impossibility of the American dream, where ashes take the form of houses and chimneys and rising smoke and finally with a transcendent effort of ashes gray, men who move dimly and already crumbling through the power air. Martil hopes to escape after being imprisoned in it. The eye of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. The eye of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg can be interpreted in different ways. They can be seen as God's eyes, judging and looking at people who have lost their moralities. They look down upon humanity and the human conditions. Nick Carraway describes the billboard as a huge pair of blue eyes. He says in chapter 2, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are blue and gigantic. Their retinas are 1 yard high. The first time we encounter these eyes is in chapter 2. They look out of no face, but instead from a pair of enormous yellow spectacles which pass over a non-existent nose. Then the second time we encounter eyes is in chapter 7 when Tom, Nick, and Jordan stop at George Wilson's garage. Over the the giant eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg kept their vigil, and but I perceived after a moment that other eyes were regarding us less and then 20 feet away. Standing behind him, Michael saw with the shock that he was looking at the eyes of Dr. T.J. Ecclesworth, which just emerged pale and enormous from the solving night. That in an implicit way, George Wilson explained that these are the eyes of God, referring to his wife's infidelity. And he says, God knows what you have been doing, everything you have been doing. You may fool me, but you can't fool God. In conclusion, the novel succeeds to combine imagination, vitality in an analysis of the American dream, American culture. We are using important symbol. So thank you, and here is my work citation.
So, Bhavna, my question is, uh, yes,
If you also type your question by in time, then it can be displayed also, or you can ask and then you can do that. Okay. Okay. So Amina is asking the question. Okay. Yes, you can ask now.
so my question is, where is green light stated in the novel?
The green light stated is represent hope and dream, and so
Where is Valley of Ashes in the novel?
yes, the Valley of Nations is the Valley of Ashes uh, is industries in this novel.
Okay, so Bhavna, I think you are understanding that you need to work hard. Don't remain in an illusion that you know everything or you are able to answer everything. You are not able to answer everything properly. Okay, so that and then work on that. Many times, what happens? Students remain in an illusion because some friends might be telling that you are very hoshiyar. So we remain in an illusion that well I am this and that, but no, it is not so. From your performance you can see that you need to work when the question is asked how to answer the question properly. that you need to learn. Okay? So keep this in mind and start working on that. Don't be in any illusion that we are of best quality and we know everything. Remember where we need to improve. Okay? Otherwise, at the end of the fourth semester also, you will remain as it is only if you will not work on this. Last time also it was happening. This time also we are seeing that still you need to work hard on various things. So do practice and keep on improving. We want to see improvement in subsequent days also. Okay, okay, next presenter now.
Can you pin any others pin from
No,
here?
you cannot. What I do that only. You it will be because it is a studio and studio is controlled from here only. So, like in Meet, you cannot have any control over what is visible.
Now it is visible. Okay. This is the point which I want to discuss in this presentation. First, introduction of writer, then introduction of novel. What is American Dream? Character of Daisy Buchanan, and conclusion. Introduction of writer. F. Fitzgerald was a 20th century American short story writer and novelist. Although he completed 4 novels and more than 115 short story in his lifetime. He is perhaps best remembered for his third novel, The Great Gatsby. This novel today considered as the great American novel, The Great Gatsby. This novel published in 1925 by Charles Scribner's Sons, set in Jazz, New York. The novel tells the tragic story of J. Gatsby, a self-made millionaire, and his pursuit of Daisy Buchanan, a wealthy young woman he loved in his youth. Unsuccessful upon publication, the book is now considered a classic of American fiction and has often been called the great American novel. What is American Dream? American Dream is a something with about wealth, money, prosperity, going to happiness that will supposedly come along with the flourishing economy and the get rich quick scheme. In novel, we can see the character of J. Gatsby, who want to become rich just for make a Daisy her him. So he do whatever in the way he want to do. Throughout the novel, Fitzgerald display how the American dream is not only a shallow concept of perfection. Something can never be attained but can always be reached for. Character of Daisy. Who is Daisy? Daisy is the voice is full of money. Is there any female character in American literature more coquettish and coveted than Daisy Faye Buchanan? Daisy is an immortal character of American literature. First, who is Daisy? Partly based on Fitzgerald's wife Zelda. Daisy is a beautiful young woman from Louisville, Kentucky. She is Nick's cousin. and the object of Gatsby's love. Daisy Buchanan, just like American Dream, is a beautiful, full of promises on the surface. But as you dig deeper, you can see that is all it is about selfishness, manipulation, and co- condemnation. Daisy's voice is full of money. Daisy only love about she is always thinking about money rather than anything. She didn't want a love from in his life. When she was young, that time she concerned only about love and she make love with Gatsby. But when she met Tom and see that he is rich, then he decide to marry Tom and forgot promise which he did to Jay. Beautiful little fool. Daisy is like a beautiful little fool. Daisy says herself that a girl, the best thing a girl can be in this world is a beautiful little fool. Daisy may not seem to be very bright, a pampered Harris from an old Lewis Villa family. Daisy has lived a life of luxury and ease, and she wants nothing more than to keep it that way. She wants nothing in life rather than money. She always think about a luxurious life. She want to live a she didn't want any problem in her life, so she do nothing big and never try something new. Is any character female character in American literature more coquettish and coveted than Daisy Faye Buchanan? She is the most desirable debutante, the ever evading maid. She is a warm, feverish, thrilling, intoxicating, a serene and a blossoming flower. She is the southern male, cool in her white dress with her white mansion and her little white mobile. She insists the object, the great American dream, all bright eyes and voice full of money. And of course, she is the light green. She is the light of Jay's life, green light of Jay's life. She is the golden girl and the incorruptible angel, and all the platonic ideals that artists and poets throughout the great ages have required in their muses to be. Daisy is an immortal character of American literature. Daisy is the famous character of American literature, like Elizabeth Bennet, Maria Piccola, many other characters which is play an important role in English literature. That's Daisy is the same. Daisy is an immortal character of literature. We can also say that she is very suspicious to the influence of those around her. She thinks like a majority of people think. She never stand for herself. She always go with the flow. We can say Daisy is a sheeple. Conclusion: Daisy is a more victim than victimizer. She is the victim first of Tom Buchanan's cruel power, but then of Gatsby's increasing depersonalized vision of her. One person may value someone's outer and inner beauty differently than the next. Therefore, it is his or her decision whether someone is beautiful or not. We can say that women of 20th century once think ready-made. They don't want to do any kind of effort for that. I want to give example of today's time, that in Bollywood we can see that there is so many movie in which people director and writer try to show that how today's women try to do something on their own way. She want to make their own way of living life. We can see in the movie Shadi Mein Zarur Aana, she live her husband for the life, and there is a we see positive story of a hero that he become rich by the becoming IS officer, and then he gained her love, his love. But in 20th century, women are always demotivate the whatever the protagonist and the partner of them. Daisy also do same thing. She become the reason of the downfall of a J, and the death of also become the reason of the death of the J. Thank you. These are my citation.
So, Dhruvita, my question is Daisy doesn't have any.
Make you in the full screen, then you ask a question. So, okay, yes, Amina is asking.
So, my question is Daisy doesn't have any financial problem or but still she was suffering from mental illness. How you can explain it?
because she was not clear about what she want in life. First she want money, then after she decide to run with he convinced with the J and decide to go with it. But when Tom tell her that Tom hasn't any kind of legal money, then she again changed her decision and decide to stay with Tom. So she was so confused in her life. That's why she is suffering.
Okay. Who is next now?
Yes, Dhruvita. Who is says
Just just a minute.
Daisy's
I will make a full screen and then you ask. Okay, now you ask.
who is says Daisy's voice is full of money. Who is says Daisy's voice of full of money.
This statement was done by J that Daisy's voice is full of money. Thank you.
So if you will, Bhavna is asked, no, if you will write that question, you will come to know if there is any spelling error or not. Write and then ask. Then you will come to know that you are making a mistake or somebody, your friends, or we can draw attention that this is not the correct way of asking a question. Grammatically wrong it is. Yeah. So now, if nobody will pinpoint at this all mistakes, then you will never learn that where and how to make improvement in your linguistic skills. Either it is speaking or it is about writing simple things. So note down so we can tell. That's why if you ask a little bit in advance, then we can display your question also and we can think of any correction also in there. Yes, now you can.
Is it visible? Is it visible?
Good afternoon to all. A woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. This is the famous quote of Virginia Woolf, and today I am going to deal with a feminist perspective of Virginia Woolf's novel, in which I have taken three novels. First is Room of One's Own, very prominent novel of her, then Orlando, and To the Lighthouse. So, this is my information. A very brief introduction of Virginia Woolf. Her full name, her original name is Adeline Virginia Stephen. She was born on January 25. Now? Huh? Yeah. See. Wait. There are too many slides.
Wait.
Is it visible?
Now,
Is it moving? Shall I start? So this is my personal information, and let's have a glimpse of her on her life. Her original name is Adeline Virginia Stephen. She was born on January 25 and died on March 28. She is very famous for her novels, and she was part of a Bloomsbury group in which the other members are E.M. Forster, Roger Fry, and her husband also, her future husband Leonard was met there in Bloomsbury Group. And she is best known for her novels like Mrs. Dalway, To the Lighthouse, Room of One's Own, etc. And she also wrote several letters to her friends and her family in her lifetime. And she did many experiments on biographical writing and fictions also. Now, what is feminism? I am going to deal with the feminist perspective of her novels, but what is feminism actually? It is of one kind of a belief in social, economical, political equality of the sexes. Both the female and male have the same kind of equality in all the fields, and largely it was manifested in Europe, and it was also worldwide known. And how Virginia Woolf was influenced by this feminism. It was one incident that the fight for women's vote between 1903 and the period of First World War. While in this time, the women were fighting because they didn't have had the right of votes. So this incident, they were sexually attacked by the police, and that's why this incident very much influenced Virginia, and then she wrote many novels on the rights of the women. So Virginia Woolf, a feminist writer, she believed that literature also is mother also, not literature is not father only but the mother also. She concerned with many issues like the social and economical context of women's writing, gender gender roles in language, and she mainly focused on the education of women, and women can write. So these are the very brief summaries of Lighthouse, Room of One's Own, and summary of Orlando. Lighthouse is the story divided in the three parts. The very first is the window, and window is symbol of the female. And the last part is known as the lighthouse, which is also called the symbol of man. Lighthouse is the hope in this novel. In this novel, Mr. and Mrs. Ramsay are going to the lighthouse, and they are going in this isle of sky with his children, 8 children, and the guests. And this is a very famous story. It's not have that big plot, but the philosophy inside the lighthouse is very much important. Then Room of One's Own. This is not actually the novel, but it is the fiction. It is a essay. This was published in September 1929, and it was a essay. This was given by Virginia Woolf in October 1928 in Newham College and Girton College, which are the part of the Women's Constituent College at the University of Cambridge. This essay is one of the main important essay for feminism. And then the summary of Orlando. Summary of Orlando, as we all know, that it is the story of a person whose sex is changed from the male to the female. So this is the short summary. Now, feminism in Lighthouse. In the lighthouse, as I told you, the Mrs. and Mr. Ramsay go to the lighthouse, and there is guest also, and one guest is Lily. Lily is painter. She paints the things, and especially she paints Mrs. Ramsay and Mr. Ramsay's portraits. And Mrs. Ramsay wants her to marry, but she denies. Now, this shows that the woman can deny if she doesn't want to marry, and she also struggles philosophically. Actually, Mr. Ramsay wants to be philosopher, but he is not able. He doesn't have that guts. But Lily is constantly having a thoughts, philosophy in her mind. She is not exactly portraying the things she wants to do, but in the end she wins all the troubles going in her mind, going in her heart philosophically, and then she completes her painting. Now this is shows that in that era, in 20th century, women can deny for marriage. Also, she can be a writer and painter also. William in the part in this novel says that William is also the guest. He says that women should not paint, but she doesn't hear him. She challenges this thing. So Lily is the feminist character in the lighthouse. And also in this, Virginia Woolf breaks the stereotype of masculine and patriarchy, because we all have the father in the house who deal with the things, who deal with most of the family's things, and the rupees and money. It's all about on father. But in this, Mrs. Ramsay is very powerful and strong character. She handled all the things, and she also symbol the cyclical change in the towards the society, that women can also handle the things, women can also handle the family. For example, in this, she's reading the newspaper loudly. She decide the family's money issues, everything. So she is also feminine character. Now, the feminist reading of Room of One's Own. This is having many feminist aspect in the essay. For example, education, literature and writing, wealth, freedom, all the things of the related to the women are told by Virginia Woolf in Room of One's Own. In this essay, she writes that ladies are only admitted to the library if accompanied by a fellow of the college or furnished with a letter of introduction. She was coming from the family in which his father, Stephen Leslie Stephen, believed that only boy have to do only boy have to have the all the education in the family, but women girl cannot, because ultimately she will marry. So education is not for the woman, and this thing is satirically told in this essay, in which she symbolically she narrates the fictional three characters. One is Mary Batten, Mary Saturn, and Mary Carmichael. These ladies are when going to the universities, in which they are seeing that the women have not space for the writing. Not women are that famous like the men are. So this is also told in the essay. And another thing is Judith Shakespeare. William Shakespeare has not actually any sister in history, but this is the fictional character which is told by Virginia Woolf. Judith Shakespeare is also very good in literature like William Shakespeare. She is also master in the literature. But what happens there? She is not given the platform like William Shakespeare is given. So she is set at home, and her potential, her skills are not coming out, and that's why ultimately she do suicides. So women have that kind of condition in that society. They had ability of writing, they had ability of being famous, but they were not giving platform by male writers were feeling like, no, we are writing for women now, but that was not actually the correct thing. So it is also said by Virginia Woolf in Room of One's Own. And she also focuses on education and money. Woman must have money if she wants to write, she wants to publish her books. and these are the things which I have told earlier. Gender equality in Orlando. Now, all the three novels are actually feminist novels, but deals with the different aspect. First, Lighthouse is breaking the stereotype. The another is talking about women's right, the room of one's own, and now Orlando. Orlando is saying that being transsexual is not that big deal. Imagine, this is normal for us, even this is not normal for many of us in in this society. So how can that be very normal in that society? But still, Orlando, Virginia Woolf imagines that a person is changing automatically, her change sex changed from men to women, and that's why Orlando is when transformed, she was stark naked and proceeds by taking a bath. She was not shocked. It's okay if he's shifted to female from the male. And as Judith Little writes that Orlando arrives as an adult on the scenes of each era, she escapes normal childhood socialization that evokes her as a self who is free of the major illusions of many areas and the stereotype of both sexes. If a girl have the more masculine power, then it's okay, and if a boy it's having feminine, then it's obviously normal. Also, another critic, Sharon Knopp, claims that Orlando is not a woman acting like a man. Orlando is a man and a woman, and there is nothing unnatural about it. And woman also, Woolf also writes that Orlando had become a woman. There is no denying of it, but every other respect, Orlando remains precisely as he had been. He is what he is. So being male or female, that is not important, but what are you doing, that is important. These are my references. Thank you. I will conclude with one kind of a Hindi quote that वुल्फ नहीं बन सकते तो क्या हुआ, उनकी राह पर तो चल सकते हैं. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, Dhvani, what are your views about feminism?
So I'm totally agree with Virginia Woolf's views of the gender equality, education, literature and writing, role of the women in literature and writing, and we are not we are actually equal like a man, and we can do whatever they can do.
Hello, Dhvani. My question is that you say that Lily believes in different philosophy. What kind of philosophy she believes?
Lily was when she was painting, she was very much confused. She was portraying the Mrs. Ramsay's painting, but while she was doing that, she was having so much thoughts in her mind that how can she become famous? First, she was focusing on the being famous, but later she found herself that no, being a painter itself, I am having the skill that is important. I'm not doing it for anybody, I'm doing it for myself only. So that is important philosophy.
Okay, so the next one now is the questions are not put in the stream, so I was not able to display the question when you were asking. If you will put it in advance, then I can display the question while the question is answered by the student. Then also, yes, if you are present here, you can ask orally also. And if you are absent, then in chat also you can ask. So any other students, if you have a question, you can ask. Okay?
Hello, myself Divya Parmar, and today I am going to present Nick's character as a unreliable narrator. So let me share my screen.
seen earlier one that I have put. You read the earlier comment? Bhavna, read the comment? You see what error you read in asking the question.
It is visible.
Now it places this, right?
Visible. It's full screen.
Yes, it's done.
Okay. So my presentation topic is Nick Carraway as unreliable narrator. Writer of the novel is Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald. So this is my information. Points of presentation. Uh, Introduction of novel, introduction of writer, characters, Nick as narrator of the novel, and conclusion. So, introduction of the novel. These points I will not discuss in detail because my topic is Nick Carraway. So, I just put a brief information. Writer is F. Scott Fitzgerald, published in April 10 April 1925. The genre of the novel is tragedy, and the novel covered the age or the roaring 20s. The narrative style is a first person narrative technique. F. Scott Fitzgerald. About F. Scott Fitzgerald. He was born on 24 September 1896, and he was died on 21 December 1914. He was essayist, short story writer, and screenwriter. Here I have a hyperlink to read that detail about the writer. The characters of the novel, I have listed down the main characters of the novel: J. Gatsby, Nick Carraway, Daisy Buchanan, Tom Buchanan, Martel Wilson, Jordan Baker, George B. Wilson, and Mayer Woolsey. Nick Carraway as narrator. This character is taken from the novel Nick Carraway as narrator. Nick Carraway introduced in the novel first in as a young man from Minnesota, and he was educated from Yale University. He was educated from Yale University. This point we can connect that he belongs from a rich family or educated family. He served after the education. He was served in American Army in World War First. After that, he goes to New York to learn about bond business, and he settled in a Westland. Also, here in novel, West Egg Place, known as the homeland of a new rich people. This is original line which I have taken from book. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I have been turned over in my mind ever since. This line is taken from chapter 1, and it is a very first line. So, by this line, Nick Carraway established himself as vulnerable when he was a young. Here, vulnerable means someone who belongs to a group within society that is either oppressed or more susceptible to harm. This is a second line which I have taken from original book. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me. Here he told me means his father told him. Just remember that all that the places in world haven't had, the advantages that you have. According to this line,
Nick directly says that it is do not criticize anyone. But when we read novel, he is continuously give a judgments to all characters. For example, introduced to Jay's character by the good perspective, or a good point of view, which is tells us by Nick's character. So how the Nick's describes all character, we introduce that character by that narration. So this dialogue, this is line when his father tells him that do not criticize anyone, because if you have that facility and others have not, so maybe judgment or critical, it is not right. But when we read novel, we find lots of judgment upon characters, upon the situations, and all those things. This is a original line. I was within and without, simultaneously intense and replied by the inexhaustible variety of life. These lines taken from chapter 2 of the novel. Nick Carraway says that I was within and without, means he was a part of story, but the story is not his. Fitzgerald make the character of Nick like this: one step, one foot in a party's and richness, and another foot in real life and real world. Uh, one foot in parties mean he attended parties, dinners by rich people like Gatsby and Tom. He meet them, he talk with them, and also he is in contact of them, that rich people. Also in another side, he also describes a value of ashes, lower class society. When we see they whenever they go west egg from New York, they passed by the Valley of Ashes. He see the eyes of Dr. T.J. Ickelberg. So all those descriptions also he make in novel. So he is a stand between the two different situations. So how can we say that Nick's narration is an unreliable narration? We find a two place somewhere unreliable narration. First was incident of accident. When Martha's accident happened, the narrator Nick was not there, but maybe he was told by someone, or he listened, or maybe he assumed. So the or at the when we see movie, we see that he listened uh, talking of Daisy and Tom. So that point we know that actually accident done by Daisy, but he is not there present at the accident place. So the second incident is murder scene of Gatsby. Also there was Nick was not there on the spot when George Wilson shoot Gatsby. So these both narration are like unreliable narration. So this is my presentation. Thank you. And maybe I have cited a wrong one edition of novel. So this. Thank you.
Hello, Divya. My question is that if Nick is not reliable, then who is the reliable character in the novel to narrate the story? If Nick is not reliable character, then who is the reliable character in the story to tell us, to narrate the story?
Sorry. The story is narrated by Nick Carraway, and this is a first narration story. So all the narration is only done by Nick Carraway, and somewhere he is reliable.
but I cannot find any other character who is reliable to the story.
Yeah. So my question is, you have written the jazz age in your presentation. So what is the jazz age? Can you bring the light on that?
So, in the novel, jazz as age reflected. So, in novel, we find that jazz as come as the by roaring parties and jazz music that displayed in novel. So,
Hello everyone, myself Divya Sheta. Today's my topic is uh, today's my topic is W.B. Yeats as a symbolistic poet. Is it visible? So I'm going to deal with today's topic is that W.B. Yeats as a symbolist poet. This is my information. Table of content. First, before we deal with that Yeats as a symbolist poet, we first come to know that why he known as a symbolist poet, because there is one historical movement, that symbolist movement. Then I'm going to talk that Yeats and Eliot's symbols and eclectic symbolism in the second come. this is the picture, that this picture by Jan Turok, that symbolist movement starting from painting to music. That this in this picture, I would like to interpret that on the very top of the both corner there are bells, and there are the lines are coming on that. Then we further come to know that there is lines at that drawing. There are the hairs of that woman's, and these are the three brides, and this painting is symbolize the purity of passion. So this symbolist movement in literature originated during 1815s in France, and lasted until about 19th. Yet quite influenced by these French writers, this movement is a conscious movement was born in France as a reaction against naturalism and the precision and executed of the naturalist school represented by Emile Zola. Emile Zola was a French novelist, generalist, playwright, and the best known that he is the pioneer of literary school of naturalism. Important his her important of his important that contribution to the development of that naturalism. And yes, this symbolist movement is the in very influence on 20th century literature. This why this movement bridging the transition from realism to modernism. Yeats and his symbol, that we can say that we can see in Yeats' background and his life, that Yeats was born into a barren and or unreligious age, and lived to see it become a naturalistic or irreligious one. That was the background against which he had to exercise his gift of poetry, which, like that of Shakespeare and Donne and Milton, was a gift for splendid metaphysical imagery. While discuss with Eliot's symbols, we already studied Westland, that we can see that Eliot uses several Indian philosophy, and his uses of symbol or his uses of the his uses of symbol is highly very religious. That the Eliot attaches the occult symbols like captives to his Christian career, and it gives a fresh and interesting status to his Christianity. While Yeats is both more and less orthodox than Eliot, more orthodox in his intellectual technique, working with one set of symbols at a time, less in that he does not at all feel bound to take the Christian symbols as his base. In short, that he not highly used religious symbols like Eliot. In second coming, that boldly new and cosmic image, and there are the images of the centripetal force of the world turning to centrifugal of anarchy being loosed up upon it. And there is also the line, the blood deemed tide, is also showing, which may have an occult meaning or maybe a metaphysical image of war. Another symbols like the rose is the very common symbols we can say in literature, that rose is the key symbol. It symbolizes intellectual beauty, and the beauty of woman, especially that of men gone, and Ireland as well. Byzantium as a symbol of the dance. This is the another poem by Yeats, Yeats generally uses this symbol to intricate either pattern, movement, or joyous energy. This line is another his poem "A Prayer for My Daughter," and here Helen is symbolizes destructive beauty and is linked with Maud Gonne. In the same poem, the horn of plenty and the laurel tree are symbolized of place, prosperity, and happiness. Symbols made it possible for Yeats to express the richness of man's deeper reality, which is something essential, mystical. This is my word citation. Thank you.
Yes. So who is asking the question? Who is it? Raise your hand so I can see who is asking. Okay. Have a proper focus of camera. Yes. That- Slightly put camera in your direction, slightly a little bit farther distance. Keep it there only. Yeah. These are all the skills that is to be learned. How to face a camera. Yes. Unmute. You are not able to. You have to. Then you have to re-log in again. Next one. Who is the next one? By the time we can take. Yes. Okay. Yes.
So, Divya, can you throw some light upon which type of Indian philosophy Yeats used in his works?
Yes, for Eliot. For Eliot. Yes. So, Yeats, I don't know, find any Indian philosophy. In
Okay, so
Sorry, it's
Divya.
my mistake. Eliot.
In Eliot, so we studied in this paper that the Westland he uses Buddhism detachment on Buddhism philosophy and also this kind of philosophy he used.
Okay, by the time here things get ready, is it okay? Yeah. Okay, you can now ask them.
Yeah. And what kind of philosophies Yeats used in this movement, the painting to music?
According to me, that Yeats perhaps not use highly philosophy as Eliot. He uses religion perspective on his side. He uses some Christian myths also that they both uses. Yeats also use Christian myths and Greek symbolic character of myths. But apart from Eliot's philosophy or Eliot's uses of symbol, he not highly, perhaps he not highly used in his work as a symbol or that, and he perhaps he uses this symbol as easier than Eliot's what Eliot's use. Thank you.
Okay, a few things like So when you ask a question, your question is not clear. Like Divya Parmar asked here, by the time Dhvani you also put, so we can see the question that you are asking. Type your question. Divya, now this work means which work? Make it clear that you are asking about which work. Though the context is very clear, but still imagine that somebody is reading your question out of context. When somebody will be reading the comments, they won't know that this question is asked to whom, because we are not putting that name here. So first thing, put a name of the person to whom you are asking a question, and then about which work is it, about which writer is it, that also be clear in asking the question. And this is for everybody, okay? So don't think that it is only for one student and you don't have to think of that, okay? So remember, everybody, be more clear and precise in asking your question, okay? Then here, Divya, are you able to see these comments there, that your display picture is not coming? Other students are coming? Divya Parmar, are you seeing that? Have you noticed that or not? Have you noticed it? So I think there will be something in your mind that why this is not coming, and you will solve that by tomorrow. That has to happen. And if it is not happening, I have to pinpoint. That is how we learn when we work together. That is how we learn when we keep things open, our eyes, and we keep on looking. Then obviously that question should be there with you, that how come this happens, and then you will solve this problem. So by tomorrow, that problem will be sorted out. Yes. Okay. Okay, so these are a couple of things that keep in mind while you are working on this. Okay, so the next presenter now. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. I am Emisha Ravani, and today I am going to deal with the Virginia Woolf's novel Orlando. I would like to start my presentation with her own quote that I am not one and single, but complex and many. By this quote, we can get the idea that how Virginia Woolf was in some kind of complexion at literature also. It can be reflected when we read her novels or her works, etc. So I will deal with a very effective point I can find in her novel Orlando, that is Xander and Society, Xander Dysphoria in Orlando. This presentation will be deal with the psychological study as well as social study. So these are my personal informations. uh, I will discuss these kind of points like Xander, with how society is behaving with Xander, and how we are adopting the social norms by the parameter of Xander dysphoria, womanhood, and clothing, various incidents of Orlando in the novel, uh, the important turn of the novel. The important turn I can find in the novel, that when Orlando wakes up after 7 days of sleep, and he turn out his identity as female. Uh, fictional representation of Woolf's own friend and lover, Vita Sackville West. That is Orlando novel itself. It deals with the biography of Vita Sackville, as Woolf has noted in her diary that. And now we come to the point, gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is something which is deal with the psychological approach, and I have mentioned some of definition here, and I have put the video link. I have hyperlink a video. That from that you can get the idea of, very basic idea is that what is gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is something when person is not okay or not ready to accept their own identity. Either it can be male or either it can be female. when he or she get birth and assigned the sex, he or she cannot able to accept or cannot live with that identity, and uh, crisis arise in her or his mental conditioning, and it comes as a mental disorder. And we can find that in Orlando there is a very clear perception of this gender dysphoria, as Orlando faces some kind of issues, mental diagnostics and all that. The cause of gender dysphoria, there are many causes when we come at mental issues, or we can say psychological disorders. It is the one of the psychological disorder. So psychologist says that the cause of gender dysphoria, here I have mentioned only three causes, and that are very basic causes for this kind of mental disorder. Genetics are working in this disorder, hormonal during prenatal development, and environmental factors. Now clothing aspect is playing very vital role in the Orlando's character. One of the ways in which gender is constructed in Orlando is through clothing. Clothes change our view of the world and the world's view of us. That is the original line from the novel. We can get the idea of clothing by this line, and declares the fictional biographer who narrates the book, and that is certainly the case for Orlando. Uh, Clothing, we feel that we have to follow the social norms or social practices while we are choosing clothing. And there is the incident of Sasha, and there is the character of Sasha. So I am jumping this slide. When Orlando first sees Sasha, the Great Frost, that is the setting, and her Russian fashions how to disguise the sex. Orlando is convinced that Sasha is man, but as Sasha gets closer and Orlando can make out of the shape of her breast under her masculine tunic, he knows she is a woman. Here we can get the idea of how our binaries are working for the male and female. Orlando is only curious about Sasha when he thinks he is man. But when he finds out she is woman, he falls madly in love with her. So it is something like I can find that it is going with more the female identity than the man. This suggests that people's view of others, particularly on a romantic or sexual level, are deeply influenced by the social norm of how man and woman are expected to present themselves. We are living in society. We have to follow certain kind of social practices and social norms. So we are even I cannot say consciously or unconsciously, in both the ways, we are expecting something from the society, and society expecting something from the us, as male or as female. There is another incident of Nell. Nell is a character who is a prostitute, and Nell assumes that Orlando is a man because of the way she dresses. And it is not until Orlando reveals herself as a woman that Nell beings relax. And there is the dialogue of Nell, that I am by no means sorry to hear it. I am not in the mood for the society of the other sex tonight. Indeed, I am the devil of a fix. As we know that Nell is a prostitute, and Nell accepts Orlando and acts differently based on what gender she believes Orlando to be based on her clothing. Here we can say that another point make out that clothing is how important for the even to the prostitute. Prostitute is expecting something else as gender binaries. Uh, Here I mention this quoted by Woolf Diary. For the truth is, I feel the need of an escapade after these serious poetic experimental books. I want to kick up my heels and be off. I want to embody all those innumerable little ideas and tiny stories which flash into my mind at all seasons. Here we can say that by her quote only, as I mentioned in first very beginning in my presentation, that he she is telling herself that I am not one or single. I am complex and I am many. So there is something which is going on her unconscious or her psychological level, that there is some complexity which she is feeling, and by that I can think that by that complexity she come to this easier way of producing this kind of literature. A biography beginning in the year 1500 and continuing to present day, called Orlando Vita, only with a change about from the sex to another. So now I am going to conclude my presentation with the idea of womanhood. I have mentioned one incident of Neil and another incident of Sasha. So when she come to know that he is not a man morally, but now he is a woman. So Sasha has denied to make a law. So we can say that how womanhood is expected from the that particular we can say that particular identity of female. Then gender crisis, of course, is there is an existence of gender dysphoria. So the gender crisis we face in many works of Virginia Woolf. Psychological diagnostics, if psychology has defined as a disorder, they have to come to the diagnostics of any psychological trauma or any psychological disorders. Woolf's mental kind of reflections. Uh, we have watched the movie in the class. We can assume that there is something which is very abnormal. We can abnormal is not okay appropriate. So we can say there is something which is not okay or which is not good as a normal person in the society. But Wolf has something which is going on in her conscious, so it reflections in every works we read. And self crisis also, Orlando, in the character of Orlando, we find that there are so many crises, and one of the self crises have in the movie that we watched, that in the movie that Vita was not ready to accept, or was not able to accept her own identity. So that is it. This is my work citation. Yeah, thank you.
So, how the environmental factor became the cause of gender diversity?
Yes. So when we think about environmental factors, we a kid has born, then it society is responsible, or we can say the around people are responsible how he or she rising up. So we have to make environment, whether uh, the kid male or female, it doesn't matter how he or she is rising up. So we the psychologist, we I have read that psychologist says or insist that the people are responsible for the make an environment which can provide the mental peace to children, or which can provide to a very open platform to discuss certain kind of things about identities, about what the binaries are there, it should not be there. So environmental is basic factor for this disorder, or we can say this basic cause of this disorder. Thank you.
Yes, Emisha, my question is, do you find any problems in third genders? And would you like to define, because we already discussed in Orlando then gender equality between men and women. But do you find any problems in third gender?
Yes, of course. I can find, because now people are shouting that it should not be happen or it should not be there, but in the basic platform we see that transgender people are still fighting, either mentally, either psychologically. See, psychology, we don't know how they are fighting, but uh, they are fighting in somewhere. Like, if we started to accept them, they will be okay to live their life. But we, at per any level, we won't be able to expect them to behave in certain kind of pattern, we can say. I can find that TED videos are there. So I have watched one of the video where a transgender person was talking that how she or how the person was facing the problem, and he was gay, and how family was thrown him into outside, and still he was very positive, and he was sharing his experience on the stage. So it effect, when we start to listen them, then it this problem can be cured.
Okay, so the next presentation now. So by the time she gets ready, yeah, just keep open. Don't share right now. Just keep things open there. I'm muting your mic for a while. Uh, Well, checking some of the references from your presentations, I think this was from Divya Sheta's presentation when I was looking at it. So the link led me to this website, but I'm not able to locate the paper from which you have cited. So we can't give you full score. This is a conference proceeding, but that paper we cannot find. The another citation that was given was to this. Here also page not found. Error is coming. Yeah? So for this also it becomes difficult to give full score in citations. So be careful that when you are citing the source, when we want to verify it, we should be able to reach to the right place. That is why the citations are. The very purpose of the citation is a map. So if any evaluator wants to see what you have cited, that person can reach to that place. If he's not able to reach there, there is some problem with the citation things that we are doing. This was this page of the art story. Yeah. This also I see page not found here also. Are you able to see this page? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Voice from that switch. No? We have disconnected that. It is now. Which one is connected? We have not used that for that. That laptop is connected. Any laptop with that switchboard, bigger one? No, not that one. Not that. Okay, leave it right now. That first one, there is one connection I am seeing with the first switchboard. This one there near your leg. No, not here. Not Emisha. Yeah, this one. Is it is connected with anything or not? So that you need to change to another one then. Huh. Okay, yes. So are you ready now? Next presenter.
Hello everyone. Let me share my slide first. Okay. Is it visible? Okay. Uh, I'm sharing in full screen. Now it is visible. Okay. So my concept is my today presentation topic is concept of zombie with reference of some literary text. I mean, I choose three novels to describe this concept. This is my personal information, and these are the 6 points which I have to ponder in my presentation. The first point is what is zombie and the definition of zombie. According to, but before that, let me start my presentation with one quote that when there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth, which is quite related with zombie. Uh, then let me start with my presentation. What is zombie and the definition of zombie? So, according to Oxford Dictionary, zombie is a corpse said to be revived by witchcraft, especially in certain African and Caribbean religion. And the another definition is zombie means a lifeless or completely unresponsive person. The word originated in West Africa. uh, if we see, there are two versions of zombie. The first is old version, and the next is new version. The old version is totally based on religion and one culture emerged in African culture. It is called Haitian folklore, and this kind of culture are totally based on this zombie concept and magics and all this kind of superstitions. The magic is the most popular magic of this culture is voodoo. And the another new version is of science fictions. There are so many science fictions are there which helps to um, make give lives to the dead bodies, and this kind of and turn them dead bodies into the zombies. So this kind of uh, science fictions are like carriers, radiations, mental disease, vectors, pathogens, parasites, and scientific accidents. Here I gave one link of that African culture. If you want to read about more about that, then you can click and you can read that. Then the origin of term zombie in literature. The zombie is originated in English language in 1890. It was in Brazil. The Brazilian poet Robert Southey used that word first, but the spelling of that is different. The spelling he uses ZOMBI, but later on the spelling is changed and it is become ZOMBIE. So that the first time he used that term, and the later on zombie becomes so popular by one film, Night of the Living Dead, made by George A. Romero. And the film was inspired by Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend. In that novel, he not mentioned he not mentioned any of the one particular time zombie word, but later on fans connect the zombie with this novel. Then the characteristics of zombie. The first is first zombies are very slow, and later on there it is become fast, very fast. If we see the zombies in the film The Night of the Living Dead, we find that that zombies are very much horrible, very slow walking, and they are like they have strange teeth, and that kind of zombies are there. Then the zombies turns into the heroes of magic wars. Like if we see the series like Jinka, Jadoo of Jinka, and all such kind of things, or many cartoons are also there. In that, the zombies are as a hero of magic war, portrayed as a hero of magic wars. Then if we see, then the zombies are turned into the green zombies and blue zombies. We have one game, zombie tsunami type of game. So in that we find that green zombies. Then the zombies are like a statue, like they are very slow moving and robotic type of movements, and making and brain sounds. That kind of zombies are there. If we see that sometimes zombies are also violent. uh, they are eating away the brains of people, human beings, and they are harming others. And that kind of zombies are also that. If we see if when we see this, we see next in three novels which I take as a reference, that how the zombies are violent and how they are working for that. Then zombies are some many of peoples are comparing zombies with a vampire, but it is totally different. Zombies are not vampire. Many of many in literature are also comparing Frankenstein as a zombie, but I read it that vampire that zombie Frankenstein is not taken as a zombie. It is not zombie. Sometime, and if someone wants to hunt zombie, then they have to shot their head and hunt. So these are the characteristics of zombie. Here I put three charts. The two of the charts, the black one and blue one, is of the movies made on zombies, and the another one is a chart of Facebook activity being around the term zombie, like sharing and all these things. Then the first novel I took as a reference is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. This novel is by Seth Graham Smith, and this novel is based on Jane Austen's classic novel Pride and Prejudice. In this novel we find that there is the plague around the world in England, and Bennet sisters and Mr. Darcy and all that are all the protagonists, female protagonists and male protagonists, are fighting against the this plague of zombie. The first scene we find is in the ball party, which is similar to the Pride and Prejudice, which we studied before. In that, the zombies are came, and zombies are attacking on the people, and Bennet sisters Jen and Elizabeth both are save people from that from the zombie. Then the next reference of zombie, we find that uh, when Jane getting back from the Netherfield, and she was injured by the zombies, and she has to stay at Mr. Bingley's home, and then the love between them emerged. We find a similar story of Pride and Prejudice. We find here also that in the beginning, Elizabeth hate Mr. Darcy, and then she attract. So the attraction, a story of her attraction is also very interesting. That Elizabeth go for world tour, and with his uncle and auntie, and there he find Darcy fighting with a zombie, the flood of zombie, and she gets impressed, and all her prejudice were killed away with the killing of zombies. So that thing is there, and at last the marriage of Elizabeth and Darcy in between the zombie apocalypse. The second novel I took is World War Z. It is also known as the Zombie World War. This book was released in September 12, 2006, follow up to the previous book of Max Brooks, The Zombie Survival Guide. In this book, we find that our protagonist is the agent of National Post-War Committee, and National Post-War Committee. In this story begins, the story begins in the China, where one when one boy was bitten by a zombie, and then the disease started spreading all around the China. The government tried to control it, but it is out of control, and it is spread around, not only around the China but all around the world. So that things happen, and then the story is goes move further, like the all the nation comes together and try to fight against this zombie disease, like Brazil, France, not Brazil, but France, Russia, Italy, and all that come together. At last, England got win over that zombies and got control on these zombies. So these are the second book I took, and the third I took is Zone One. Zone One is very modern novel written in 2011 by the author Colson Whithead. The novel is take place in post apocalyptic United States, revenged by zombies. In this novel, there is a narrator named Mark Spitz, a protagonist of the novel, and who is who recalling his memories in throughout the novel. Like he was also suffered by this zombie disease, and he came out. He survived from that. So that memories are flashback narration are going as well with the novel. Along with that, he is working at a place called Manathan, called that he gave this particular place name of Zone One, which is the title of the novel. And in that the disease of zombie are get over controlled, so they try to control it. And at last we find that the tragic end of hero, like when the novel end, the third day of narration, the novel ends, and at that time it was a Sunday, and at that time Mark Spitz were fighting against the flow of zombies, rushing towards them, and the zombies are coming to eat him. And we find that these things is reflecting the death of the world again, like after the war. This novel is set in post-war, so it is all about that what the situation of world after the war. These are my citations. Thank you.
Yes, you have took very unique topic of zombie, and so I wanted to ask is that when new concepts are coming in the literature, then for which purpose writers bring the concept of zombie in the literature, according to you? For which purpose writers bring the concept of zombie in the literature? What do you think for this question?
Okay. If there is a if I was read it in many sites or many the journals I have read in also, that the concept of zombies are very famous in European countries. And if we see, there are so many cartoons, games, and movies are on zombies, so it is very popular. So the popular this popularity of zombies are force writers to write about the zombies, according to me.
Yes, Himanshi, my question is, do you find any narrator as zombie in literary work, in any literary work? If there is no any narrator as zombie, would you like to narrate, and how you narrate this?
I don't know about the narrator of books, but it is in many movies are there. The narrators are there. Like if we see, um, I've used that novel of Zone 1 or the before 1. In that, the narrator was in Zone 1. The feeds are the zombie first at first time. Then he survived from that, and then he fight against the zombie. So he was the narrator, and he was suffering from that zombie disease. So he was zombie at that time. And yes, if I get chance, then I would like to narrate a zombie, the novel which in which the protagonist was zombie.
Hello, I am Hinaba Sarvaiya, and I am deal with the gender identity in the Orlando and the well of the loneliness. I'm sharing the screen. Screen is visible. Screen is visible.
Table share નથી થયો. ક્યાં ટેબમાં છો તમારું? ક્યાંમાં છો? Share this Instagram. પછી અહીંથી કરશે ને હા એક ફૂલ સ્ક્રીન તો પાછું શેર this Instagram. પછી અહીંયાથી સ્લાઇડ શોનો ઓપ્શન આવશે.
Okay. This is my personal information. Now, first I deal with the detail of the author. The Virginia Woolf, born in 25 January 1882 and died in 28 March 1971. She was an English writer considered as the one of the most important modernist in 20th century author and pioneer of the stream of the consciousness as a narrative device. And another authors is the Marguerite Radcliffe Hall is born in she born in 20 August 1818 and died in 70 August in 1943. Hal was an unwanted child, and her mother and stepfather did not pay much attention to her. And she also the so many struggling there the life, and after the life she reflect the most in her major work. And the one questions dress up due to identity. Here we find the two novels, The Well of the Loneliness and the Orlando Biography. Yes, the both are so many similarity of the find the dress up are the very important in the give the identity. And now, The Well of the Loneliness, the novels written by the British author Radcliffe Hall, that was first published in the 1928 by the Jonathan Caff, and it followed the life of Stephen Gordon. Stephen Gordon, she is the protagonist of this novel, and she belonged to the upper class family, and here we find the sex invention is appeared from the early age. And now I will deal with the gender identity in this novel. The Well of the Loneliness is the protagonist of the Stephen Gordon. The female protagonist of the Stephen Gordon feel uncomfortable in the dresses and does not like the feminist gender, and from a very young he wear masculine clothing, and also his father also encouraged by her father, and he tell her, I'm going to treat you like a boy, and boy must always be brave and remember. And it's the line of the original text. And he lets wear and bridges during the horse riding, and finding that she can't ride side and saddle, and as soon as she able to buy herself shoe tie and find a way to define herself as much as possible. Here with the protagonists are also she also girls, but she also inspired encouraged by her father, you are the not a girl, you must, you is my son. And also the here also she also the wearing the not a woman cloth, she wear the suit tie and the boy look. And another novels, the Orlando Biography, is a written novel by Virginia Woolf, first published in 11 October 1928, and inspired the novel is inspired by the aristocratic poet and novelist Vita Sackville Evans, and Woolf's also the Woolf's lovers and close friend. And here we find the gender identity in the Orlando. In the difference between the gender in dominated theme in the Orlando biography, when the man Orlando wake up and find herself a female. At night, in sleep and wake up the morning that time he become the females, and she is not she is not disconcerted by the change his gender, and initially he feels not different between that what is she and what she has been the earlier. But at the time past, society make the her conscious about the her role as a woman, and this fall in line with what would Wolf index to show that gender roles are not a biological but a societal. And I find out the novels have numbers of things in the common. The first book, Orlando and the Well of Loneliness, portrait of artists who have ambition relationship with the literary conventions because of their sexual deviations. Here we find the Virginia Woolf lives and also the Radcliffe Hall. Both are the relationship to another woman's, and also inspired to her real life to and write down this word. And both Orlando and the Well of Loneliness can be seen as a reworking traditional literary conventions in the light of ambition, gender, and sexuality. Yeah, the both are try to break down the traditional way and traditional look of the gender, and spokenly openly both are writing the gender and sexuality. And third book novels were risk for the authors. Book challenges the reputation in the publishing their work. And fourth book work use the clothing as a man instrument to express the gender of the protagonist. And finally, both were writing with the goal of the Victorian constraints lead upon the sexuality, especially in the woman. And one is changing, the one is a different one another. The Stephen Gordon defined herself freak, abnormal and unnatural, but because that she always the women's, but not a react of the woman. So she also accepted the way of dress up in the boys. And Orlando, another side of the Orlando is the embrace her ability to dress in the masculine way, changing between men and women as is pleasure her. It is incidentally the Orlando become the men's and become the females is instantly. And conclusion, I conclude this presentation. The Well of Loneliness and the Orlando have much in the common. Both novels are a portrait of the artistic, and both protagonists have ambition relations to literary convention. As Stephen is a lesbian and Orlando is a bisexual conventional gender identity. And thank you. And this is my work citation.
Yes. Uh, both the novel have many aspects as similar, but which is the strong aspect is most similar in both the novels? Do you find?
Yes, there's so many similarity in this novel, but the gender and dress on also to give the best, because the Stephens also the also like the she also is a woman and wearing the clothes like boys. And another the Orlando, the also the instantly become the man to female. And the best of the similarity things of the dress up and gender identities.
So my question is, as you mentioned that I have typed, but it is network issues. It is not network issues. So it is not sent. Okay. As you mentioned that both novels were risk for the author who challenged their reputation in publishing their books. So, do you think that in present time the situation get changed, or it is same as before?
Please repeat it.
Uh,
Just
uh,
a last.
you you are mentioned in your slide this point that both novel were risk for the author who challenged their reputation in publishing their both. You write this sentence in your slide. So I'm asking that do you think that the situation now in present time get changed, or you find that the same situations are happen with these present time writers also, that
Yes.
they, for them also this is risk?
Yes, it's time for so many changes, and something the so many things are changed. And so many people and the time the peoples are accepted all those things, and openly say about this the and sometime the only the rural area are not accepted all those things. So what do you write there? That's a very silly things. You don't write so many comments, but in educational time, the so many are changes and accepted the writer.
Don't share the things, but keep your things ready. A few feedback in between, let me give for the other presenters, so we can have some improvements on next day. Okay. So in Emisha's citations, you can see on the screen also that this is not the proper link for citation, so that you need to work and incorporate the references also in a proper way. So this is not the correct way to cite the things. Then in case of this zombie one presented by Himanshi also was a good presentation. What you need to do is to connect this with a kind of a relevance, either social, psychological, cultural relevance, that why people use this. Your citations also need to have some qualitative references here. If you see some of the sources, you will find that there is a very interesting reference, like this kind of an image you will find. World record zombie walk. People prepare themselves for this, or this zombie walk things, if you see. So why are people doing all these things? What are the concerns around that? And then if you read minutely, that some research is being done, some researchers will like to connect with different things. So there is a Scottish psychiatrist, R.D. Laing, and then there is a professor of anthropology and psychiatry, Roland Littlewood. And they connect that there is a kind of a culture-bound syndrome connected with the zombie phenomenon. And they try to say that when collectively people do something without asking question that why they are doing what they are doing, it all becomes somewhere a part of zombification of human being. People are zombified. And you might see that many of the rituals are done by people without asking question. So that zombification is a cultural trait, maybe to make us aware against those kinds of things where there is a herd mentality, there is a sheeple kind of a behavior done collectively by people. All those things perhaps are represented in the idea of zombification that one has to see. So zombie apocalypse. So this apocalypse is not a real one, where really people will be suffering from this and they will be killing each other or dying. But that is what happens culturally, perhaps, in different ways. And then there is this social activism connected around this, social activism. And they also try to read this phenomenon. Possible causes for zombie behavior in a modern population can be attributed to this fan following of popular leaders. And so the social activism tries to awaken people against this kinds of cult behavior, where there is some hero who is rising beyond the things. And so the metaphor is used in protest songs, symbolizing mindless adherence to authority, particularly when there is a kind of a forceful law enforcement and the use of armed forces or security forces against people. In all those things also, people use zombie metaphor to see those things. And finally, in the pandemic also, in the pandemic time also, people have attributed this to viruses, bacterias, or other any similar phenomenon that reduce mental capacity of humans, causing them to behave in a very primitive and destructive fashion. Very primitive and destructive fashion, So that all things get connected. So zombie idea can be seen in a much deeper way, along with scientific fiction that you are studying in 20th century literature, or even you can connect this with Frankenstein's monster also, because that monster also is somewhere an archetype of zombified life. So this all needs to be connected and cited well with all these references in that work. Okay, okay, so let us see the next one now. Is it ready for sharing? Yes. What happened still? Yeah. So you should be ready by the time I am making this comments, so we don't waste our time in between. Hirva, you need to learn lots of skills. These are very basic things which one should be good at working on all these kinds of things. So from tomorrow onwards, see that you learn all these things to manage on your own.
So I am Hirva Pandya. I am deal with the topic of Second Coming by W.B.Yeats. This is my personal. These are my personal information about author. William Butler Yeats was born in 13th June 1865 and died in January 1939. He was an Irish poet and he was foremost figure of 20th century literature. He was driving force behind Irish literary revival and became a pillar of the Irish literary establishment who helped to found the Abel Theatre and in his later years served two terms as a senator of Irish Free State. About the poem Second Coming. Second Coming was written by W.B. Yeats in 1990 in the Dial, November 1920. The published in the magazine of Dial, uh, published in 1920, including in his 1921 collection of verses Michael Roberts and the Dancer. The poem uses Christian imagery regarding the apocalypse and the second coming. Allegory describes the atmosphere of post-war Europe. It is considered major work of modernist poetry and has been reprinted in several collections, including the Norton Anthology of Modern Poetry. This is the poem. Here in the second line, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Falcon is used as a metaphor, which means is the one who can control. In a pandemic, we can connect with this idea with the pandemic, the government or the coronavirus, the control ourselves and in the context of the war between Russia and Ukraine, the soldiers of Russian and Ukrainian are controlled by their leaders or their dictators. This is the summary of the poem. The second coming in today's context, as we all know, that we all are going through the two major events of our time. That one is Corona pandemic, and second is Russia-Ukraine war. Pandemic reading of the second coming, as it is mentioned in the poem, the things are fall apart. So we can observe that the things are fall apart during the corona pandemic, and it can be seen that because of virus everything is fall apart. Its struggle is done by the medical practitioner, but not done perfectly fine. The blood dim tight it's loose. In the context of pandemic, we can say that the wise people is wearing a mask and the worst are roaming outside. But it is opposite in the context of war, that worst people do not support the war heroes, or it can be seen that corona pandemic and the Russia Ukraine war are quite opposite contest. Surely some revelation in hand, the second coming is at hand. This is very appropriate line related to pandemic, because when more numbers of people are passed away, the people thought that this is the birth time of some extraordinary man who can control all the things. That is why the more number of people are become spiritual at the time of pandemic. They are waiting for the second coming of God. Reading of second coming with the context of war. As we all know that nowadays there is a war between Russia and Ukraine. This poem also written during this First World War. So I Here I try to cover with the context of war, as it is written in the third line that everything is falls apart. In this line is very true in today's time. Because of war there is many lives, people, many things are disturbed a lot. It also affected the lives of soldiers and their families are broken. So this line is quite reliable with the context of war. Ceremony of innocence can be drawn. This line suggests that there is no chance become so innocent in the atmosphere of war. If the soldiers become innocent, they might be punished by their government. So innocence is valueless in this time. So it might be possible that Ukrainians were waiting for the second coming of Jesus and they were also waiting for the situation becomes normal. These are my resources. Thank you.
So, Hirva, my question to you is
Wait a minute.
Huh? Yes. See some network, which there are so many networks now. So either borrow network from your friend, ask them to make a Wi-Fi zone and connect with your Wi-Fi. So there are ways to do. Find a way instead of giving an excuse that there is a network issue. Okay. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me
Yes.
unmute my
Ask
mic.
your question.
Yes, yes.
Himanshi is asking.
um,
So
so
see, the login also is not yours there. So if it seems like Emisha is asking the question now, when it goes live, and if somebody is going to watch video after a couple of years, they won't know who is Emisha and who is Himanshi. So that's what we are trying to see, that you don't see only at this moment, but see in a larger perspective what we are doing. Okay, yes, ask your question.
So, Hirva, my question is you compare both the Ukraine-Russia war and the second coming. So, do you find gave similarities between both? So, do you find any changes or any difference between that both the situation?
Yes, sir, there is a difference between both the situation because in Russia-Ukraine war, there is people hope that second coming is. It is not clear that people is hoping. It is my point of view that people is hoping. Ukrainians are hoping that the second coming is done. Second coming is the God. Second coming of God rela- uh, is done, but this is not quite true. That this is not. It is my point of view. This is not. Ukrainians are hoping. Uh, this.
Yes,
Okay.
Hirva.
Yeah, next. Just a minute. Yes, now ask.
Yes, you described the second coming, the concept of the pandemic. So, how second coming describe the atmosphere of the pandemic?
Because when the Yeats was wrote the poem, the Spanish flu is going on. In this time, in that time, the poem was written. The Spanish flu and pandemic are quite similar kind of thing.
Okay, so that was the last one. Okay, so a very quick feedback about what you have done. A few comments were given while things were going on. So a few comments we have already made in between, and a few other things. Most of you, when you are citing the things, you have to see that qualitative resources are cited. So whichever area you are taking, like most of you, Aamena was talking about Orlando, many of you were talking about Orlando. So feminism, gender studies was at the center. So who are the pioneers in gender studies? Who has talked about gender politics, and who is from male, female gender going towards third gender? So Judith Butler is the very well known name, and the works like Gender Trouble by Judith Butler, Bodies That Matter by Judith Butler, Undoing Gender. So you have to refer to Judith Butler. Now, maybe in the fourth semester, when you will pick up this topic for your dissertation, then also you will have to refer. So all these seminal critics. So that is one thing that you have to keep in mind, that whichever area you are taking into consideration, first ask yourself, who are the seminal writers? Now, how can you do that? You may have a question. And for that, start with glossary of literary terms. Go to there to see what is the key concept, what is the entry in that book. Abraham has referred to all the seminal writers of that particular entry. Whichever word he has made an entry in that glossary, he has also cited all the seminal writers also with the name of the books also. So that is the way. So I think that is very clear in your mind. So I'm not only telling do all this thing, but I'm showing you the path also. Now, if you don't want to walk on that path, then it is your choice that you are making. Because I know many of you still will not walk on this path. From my experience, I tell this. That's still very clear. Go to one book, go to the bottom of that entry, you will get the list of the names and words, everything. As simple as this. Not very difficult that I am expecting from you. It's not at all difficult that is expected. It is very easy thing. And the book also is available to all of you. You all have a PDF copy of the book. It is on the website also. So it is not that where is the book, I don't know, I have to go to library, I don't have time to go to library and to find a book and to nothing to worry. So everything is handy and very easy steps. So now I will expect that at least this you are doing and reaching to the seminal writers to get some ideas from them and to cite them also. Bhavna has suggested that you need to you have to have loud voice. So increase the volume of your voice when you speak. Do rehearsals, speak, do recordings. I will someday ask you that show me your recording that you have done as a rehearsal. Make a camera, put a camera there and make your presentation. Do a rehearsal for 5-7 minutes and then keep that video and see what you are yourself learning from that. So without how to improve speech and language, you have to practice on it. Without practicing, you can't do that. At the end of 2 years or when things will happen in life where people are questioning that you don't know, you will have an easy excuse that nobody taught us. You will have that there was nobody was teaching us how to speak, how to do. But all these things are told to everybody. You might have seen that in the annual function, the leaders, where many leaders were not able to speak properly. And they all are told in all the presentations what you have to do. and yet they have not worked on that, and so end result is this. Now if you want to also be like that, then it is the choice that you are making. You are told, but you don't give any heed to it, you don't work on it. At this age you have to work on yourself, you have to work on yourself for all this thing, then only the improvement will now happen. Otherwise you will remain as it is. The way you came from BA, you will go out from MA also without any improvement as such. It will not work on. So we can just give a kind of a sign or a direction that this is what you need to do. If you get an idea, you will improve. If you don't get an idea, you will not improve. You will have an excuse for one or the other things. Yeah? Dhruvita also did well. Yes. Dhvani also presented well. A few things in that Dhvani's presentation. I made a comment in Google Classroom also. Font color visibility is very basic in presentation. So if you make a very text heavy small font, then anybody anytime will say you don't know how to make presentations. And you will be telling that, well, we were making presentations. Then they will say, but you have not learned anything from this. Just by that way, they will make a judgmental statement. And so very fundamentals should never be forgotten. These are all fundamentals, that what is the font size, how it will be visible, color combination of background and the text, that need not be taught to PG students. We don't have to waste any time in telling this is what in schools you are supposed to learn, how to make PPT. Or when you try to appear in CCC exams, maybe there they might be asking and doing the things that. And I hope you might be appearing in all those exams also, CCC, CCC plus also. जो न करता हो तो तैयारी करें, appear करता रहो. Hindi exam also, or this, because these are necessary for government jobs. So if you are still not aware, I am making you aware. Next time plan that you appear in CCC, CCC plus and Hindi exams also. But there these things are very fundamental that you have to keep in mind. Yes. Yes, it can be cited, but if that thesis is of qualitative or not, how will you judge? All research works are not of good quality. Now that has to come from your experience, not I am telling so it comes. That's why we are asking you to attend PhD Viva. So you learn that some people are doing qualitative work, some are not doing qualitative work. That you can understand from your own experience. That's why we expect you come. We don't have any classes during that time. So you attend. So from your experience, you learn that all PhDs are not qualitative. If we tell, then you may think I am biased towards one or the other person. But if you yourself experience, you will know. બધું જ સ્પષ્ટ કહેવા જઈએ તો એના અર્થ ખોટા લોકો સ્વીકારતા હોય છે. This also we have experience કે જે કહેવાય એના કરતા સાવ જુદું જ લોકો સમજતા હોય. એટલે તમે જાતે અનુભવ કરો, પણ જાઓ જ નહીં સાંભળવા. લોકો આવે જ નહીં કે ના મારે બીજા કામ છે ત્યાં શું જાવું. Then you are not understanding why you are told to go there. Then you're not understanding this, that why you are told to attend this PhD Viva. Then when you go to Shodh Ganga, you will come to know this is a good work, this is not a good work. All researches are not of good quality. That's a huge problem with India, that our academia is not able to produce qualitative research. And that's a huge complaint that we keep on giving, that if you want to become a Vishwaguru, without concentrating on all these things, we can never be that. But well, Thali Bajao is happening. So nobody is concentrating on what kind of research and academic kind of life is going on there. And we have to make our own attempt to keep on telling people. But we know that the outside world is much larger, much bigger. You will learn many things from that outer world than what we are telling. That also we know. So what we say will become absurdity also. It will not be necessary for you. But we have to tell. We have to tell that this is right, this is not right. Knowing it very well that still with all these things also we don't know how many things you are really going to learn from what is said, or how are you going to grasp those things. That also we have a huge doubt, but we have to tell, so we keep on telling. So if you experience those things in a Viva, you will come to know what is qualitative work, what is not qualitative work. So when Clement was making a presentation, we have said that this is what is expected. But that you will not see that in other Viva I have said that. Then if you are open, then you can understand that something is problematic. Otherwise, you will copy those people and you will also make same kind of research. These are our worries. કે તમે એ કરશો જે ના વખાણ નથી કર્યા અને એવું જ કામ you will reproduce that. You will say that આ તો વાયવા થતા હતા, અમે જોયા હતા. This was happening, but what you are supposed to see is something very different also there. So students like Nimesh were able to see those things and they were able to remember that also, that what is in between the lines, what is said and what is not said, where are silences. Then you can work out in a better way with many things there. So people will say Shodhganga is reliable. It is truth. But you have to see whether what is there is also good or not. It may not be of good quality also. Okay, so that you have to see. And in Lighthouse, you refer to Mrs. Ramsey's character in the gender studies, another thing, that she is keeping record of financial things and other things. So that it seems to be like a power position that she is taking care of finance, which normally the men folk in the household is doing. But well, this is the very traditional setup in a many cultures, even in Indian cultures. If you see the agrarian society, then there it is the women who is taking most of those things. That how many majurs are coming, what are the wages to be given. There will be Dadima, Nanima, old lady will have a book and will be doing those things. If that village belongs to Gayakwad state, then obviously the old lady must be knowing how to read and write. Because you know that when you visited Maharaja Sayaji Rao, that they were telling that education was compulsory in his kingdom. So even the Saurashtra region, many villages were under Gayakwad. But if it was under Nawab, there won't be any education. Junagadh Nawab, and if the village was belonging to Nawab state, then Dosimas may not be reading newspaper also. But if you see any old lady reading a newspaper, writing something, in doing some hisab kitab, it must be a Gayakwad state. So that is how you see the far-reaching effect of some king who had made education very compulsory and very significant also. So this lady who is doing the work is not the thing of a power. The same novel tells that to spend any penny, she will have to ask husband. And husband will scold her that why are you wasting my money? What is the need to repair a house? You want to just unnecessarily spend money. And she won't be happy with that. And there are lots of problems between husband and wife. But she will have to ask and take permission from a husband before spending a money, because that is husband's money, not her money. So that is a very tricky situation which Virginia Woolf is putting in Mrs. Ramsey's character. That this is how you think you are the queen, but you are not the queen. You are not the queen. That is what Virginia Woolf says. The independence comes when you have your own room. And room is financial freedom. Your own money. Without your money, you will never be the queen. It is king's money. And you have to ask him time and again. And that helplessness is what Mrs. Ramsey is suffering from. But she is not telling that to anybody. She wants to make a face that I am the queen. I can do whatever I want in this house. But that is a lie. That is what Virginia Woolf tells us. That is a lie. And under that lie, so many women are living. And then they expect that, well, the man folk should do something for us. They are never going to do. Why are you expecting the man should do something for you? You have to find your own way out. And it begins with financial freedom. Without that, don't expect any kind of empowerment or any kind of emancipation. If you don't have your money, forget empowerment, emancipation, freedom. It is all thing that is gifted by somebody if it is not earned from your money. very clear statement. Remember and keep it in mind. So if you make a choice that I don't want to earn money and I will marry some rich person, and like Virginia, Jane Austen's heroines, then you will not have that ultimate freedom or empowerment. You will have to keep on asking and keep on complaining like men are like this and men are like that. That is the choice that you will make with this. So when you move from Jane Austen to Virginia Woolf, there is very interesting lessons to be learned so far as empowerment and emancipation of women is concerned in real sense. So that point should be always discussed there. Divya, Parmar cited only text. There are no other sources that you have to cite in your work. So without that, the research presentation is incomplete. Divya, Sheta citation was there, but still I told that I'm not able to reach to the right place to see that. Question also had a problem that Indian philosophy and whether it is T.S. Eliot or W.B. Yeats that you have to see. Ask questions from what is being presented or connected to that, not any wild question. Many of you are just throwing wild questions. The person has not spoken anything about something. You are asking about that. Even in that way, you connect in your question with what is said. That you made this point or you said this. Now, how do you see this? That is learning the art of asking questions. Learning the art of asking questions. Most of you, when you attend PhD vivas, you are not asking any questions. It is worrisome. When the outside people, expert comes, they say that, well, students here are not interested in academic thing. They have no questions. How can a university student sit without questions? These are the things which people will have, and they will say that, well, arts people, lazy people. Arts people are always lazy. They are not concerned about questions. They are good as followers. They can never lead. These are the impressions that we give when we fail to ask questions at a given point, either online or offline, whatever it is. But always be ready to ask a question. People should feel and they should ask from where have the students come. એવા પ્રશ્ન પૂછવાના કે એને પૂછવાનું થાય કે આ સ્ટુડન્ટ્સ ક્યાંના હતા. And then they will say that, well, you belong to this department, this university. Wherever you go out, when you represent, always raise hand and ask questions. Don't just attend and come silently without making your presence being felt there. It is very necessary thing to be seen. We will see whether that is happening or not in the subsequent days. 1 year we are still here. એક વર્ષ તો જે સાથે છીએ ત્યારે આપણે પાછા જોશું કે આ બધી વાત થઈ એમાંથી કેટલી સાચી પડે છે, કેટલી ખોટી પડે છે. નહીં પડે તો એન્યુઅલ ફંક્શનમાં ધોકાબાજી માટે તૈયાર રહેવાનું. Then be ready that, well, this is again a corona batch going out without not learning the things which were supposed to be learned when you become a part of this department. Emisha, also we discussed about your citation. The presentation was good. Himanshi's presentation also was good on zombie. We talked about those points also in between. Yes. Hinaba also did well with the topic that was under consideration. Hirva also connected well with Ukraine, Russia war and Corona to make the point significant there. Okay, so with this we end this session and wish you all the best for tomorrow's presentation. All this thing offer which is there, other your